Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of The Fad Show. On today's episode, I'm going to introduce you to my new to me 100 Series Land Cruiser. I'm going to talk about why I bought it, give a brief history of Land Cruisers in general and the 100 Series Land Cruiser. We'll go around the car and see what needs corrected to start this project, and then I'll talk about more about what I'm going to do long term with it. So I guess I'll start off and talk about why I bought it first. So for a long time, I've been kind of wanting to get a tow vehicle for towing around my other project cars. I really didn't want to tow with the 6-speed Cayenne, and now we're selling that car. Anyways, so I've kind of been mulling over plenty of options out there. I've also been interested in getting into what I would call mild overlanding. I am in no way going to transform this channel into an overlanding channel. I just maybe once in a while will go car camping in my Land Cruiser. Probably mostly use it like transiting between places, or then I will stay in the Airbnb. I just, as much as I like working on cars, I like adventuring with cars. So this is just kind of something new to try out in that space. I guess I did do the one car camping video. Well, I guess I've done two in my Alltrek and then in my old Mark IV wagon. So I wanted something that could tow and then something that could get some mild overlanding done. And I landed at 100 Series Land Cruiser. I did mull over this vision for a long time. I thought about getting like a Chevy Suburban, Silverado, Tundra, LR3, LR4, but really I just wanted something that was hopefully going to be dead mouse reliable. I say that, and there's multiple issues with this that are going to be needed addressed. But I guess once that stuff's fixed, I know this is something that I can really rely on to tow my project cars and then hopefully get me home when you're off the beaten path or whatever. So the 100 Series Land Cruiser was produced from 1998 to 2006. I'm not going to give a huge history of Land Cruisers. There's probably far better channels out there. But they started production in 1951, and they're still being produced globally today. Obviously not anymore in the United States, unfortunately. And one cool fact I learned when I was kind of researching the history of Land Cruisers is that the 70 Series Land Cruiser that was made in, I think it was 1978 to like the mid-80s, is still being produced for like South American and Middle Eastern markets, which I thought was pretty cool. But 100 Series was 1998 to 2007 in the United States, and we only got the 2UZ FE 4.7 V8 in the United States. In other markets, they got twin turbo V8 TDI or diesel, which is kind of cool. It'll be cool once those start getting imported here. Honestly, I kind of like the look of the 80 Series Land Cruiser better, but the 100 Series ups the towing capacity to 6,500 pounds versus I think it was 5,000 for the 80 Series. So this is kind of going to be able to do everything I want to do as far as towing goes. And yeah, it's a pretty bulletproof platform. This engine is immensely bulletproof. So why don't we pop the hood, we'll look under the engine bay, and I'll talk a little bit more about the engine. So like I said before, as the 2UZ FE 4.7 liter V8, this was used in a bunch of different Toyota platforms and slightly different iterations. By modern standards, it's not a powerful engine at all. It only has 230 horsepower, 320 foot-pounds of torque, but it's adequate to move this thing along. You're just not going to get there very quickly. And actually, when I first, my Land Cruiser is 2001, so it has the 4-speed transmission. So yeah, when I first got this car, it came with 35-inch tires on it, and it was a super dog. So pretty much the only modification that I've done so far is I took the 35-inch tires off and I downsized to a 33. It definitely helped with the gearing a lot. It's still, like I said, by no means fast. But yeah, this engine is known for being pretty bulletproof. In 2006, 2007, they did slightly up the power of it, added variable valve timing. To me, it doesn't really bother me that it doesn't have variable valve timing. It just kind of makes it more simplistic, easier to replace the timing belts on it. And one interesting fact I've learned recently since I kind of started researching Toyotas, which up until about 2 months ago I had zero interest in ever, but the first gen Tundra, there was a hotshot trucker that drove his Tundra to over 1 million miles, and Tundra ended up buying the truck back. Toyota ended up buying the truck back from him, and they took the engine apart, and they found that if they replaced the piston rings and did a valve adjustment on it, it would meet the original specification that they could sell it as a new engine. So I thought that was pretty fascinating and kind of a testament to how robust this platform is. So one other thing I thought was pretty cool when I started researching just Toyotas in general, and particularly the Land Cruiser, is that at the Toyota Land Cruiser factory in Japan, all Land Cruisers are built in Japan. But anyways, for like American car companies, for example, when they have a car in the assembly line that doesn't meet specification, or something is out of tolerance, or something doesn't meet their quality control, they have an entire like massive lot used where all these cars go, and they can assess whether they're going to be able to write them off or whatever, bless them off or whatever to be sold or not. The Land Cruiser factory has 3 spots for reject cars, we'll say, and when the second spot is filled up, they completely shut down the assembly line. So I thought that was kind of cool and fascinating, because pretty sure the American car companies would just keep pumping them out even when they have issues, which I guess right now is going on with the new Bronco. All right, so now that I covered all of that, we'll go ahead and just walk around the car, and I'll talk a little bit about it, and we'll try and find everything that is wrong with it and needs addressed. Actually, overall, I've been pretty impressed with the car. I've driven it quite a bit so far, and it seems pretty solid. Pretty much all the electronics work, which is, can't be said for some of my cars. But anyways, the body's not great, but I mean, for what I'm using it for, I don't care. I'm probably going to end up touching this stuff up just so it doesn't rust or whatever, and then I'll probably just give it a paint correction and ceramic coating just for fun. Not that I really care too much about it, but I really wanted one that was white with this brown trim. I guess my only reservation with that is the kind of beige interiors seem to wear a lot easier than the gray interior does, and the white brown with gray interior was pretty rare. This is pretty much exactly what I wanted. This ended up coming up locally, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. The interior is not perfect, just like the body, but it is the exact color combo I wanted. So yeah, that's pretty sweet in my opinion. It's got a few dents, a few scratches, but overall pretty much just need to touch up the scratches that are down the bare metal so it doesn't rust, which is pretty much the big things with these is just they do suffer a little bit from rusting. It's got all the original windows, and I think it's pretty cool that Toyota stamps the VIN number in all the windows, which I don't know what that really means. But yeah. So yeah, interior is, a little outdated for nowadays, but it's actually pretty comfortable, and it drives really good. Definitely has improved since I got the 33-inch tires versus the 35s. The truck is lifted, obviously, and I will say that my definition of a truck is the body-on-frame vehicle. So if that bothers people, I'm sorry. It's just my opinion of it. I know that's kind of a great debate on the internet. So the previous owner told me it has a 3-inch lift, which I'm not really sure about because the rear is like an Iron Man 4x4, and I was looking online and they don't even make a 3-inch lift. Supposedly he went with that because they offered a heavier spring because he wanted to do like complete overland built out with like steel bumpers and stuff. I'm definitely gonna do drawers in the back. I don't think I'm gonna touch the bumper at all, so we'll see where it settles. I might end up trying to match it to the front with some old man emu stuff. So I think it's a 2-inch lift, even though he told me it was a 3. And then in the front, again, he said it was a 3-inch lift, which old man emu, which is the front suspension, does actually make a 3-inch lift. I don't know. I'm gonna try and look up some part numbers and see exactly what it is. Looking at the torsion bars, they look like they're kind of OEM ones. So that's one of the things I'm going to do today is measure the droop to make sure, the suspension is within the required, whatever, I guess it's called droop. So that's pretty much it on the exterior. Obviously, I can't get to the rear of it right now with the garage. It's my first time having a car big enough that it's kind of a struggle in the garage. So under the hood, I haven't really found anything too alarming. The car actually came with a lot of service records, so there's a lot of history of things being done. Recently, the radiator was like just replaced, which I know these are known for cracking here. So this is a brand new Denzi radiator, so that's nice not having to deal with that. Some stuff that I have found wrong under the hood already. So Land Cruisers are known for the brake boosters going out. And I did a lot of research before I bought this car actually, which is kind of surprising for me usually, but I knew that these were a problem area on the truck. So I made sure to test it when I test drove it, which you just press the brake pedal 40 times and it completely depressurizes the system. And then the pump runs because it has like a hydraulic accumulator system. Yes, it's very complicated. Not really sure where they did it, but anyways, I digress. And it worked fine for like the first 2 weeks I had it, and then it alarmed. It has like an actual audible alarm, and kind of almost like a valve is getting stuck in it and it's failed to build pressure. So I have a new one already that I've already purchased. Unfortunately, they're very expensive. I know a lot of people dislike that about them. In my opinion, if this one is made at 245,000 miles, then I'm kind of happy to spend the money to get one that's going to last that long going forward. But valve cover graphics kits were just both recently replaced, so I know that's good. One thing I've noticed is there's power steering line leak. Also, it looks like there might be a leak coming from the steering rack, which I hope is just the lines. It did have their steering rack replaced about 20,000 miles ago. Doesn't mean they replaced it with a new rack. I have no history of the starter being replaced, which is kind of down at the back of the engine. So I'm probably going to do that just for peace of mind before I go anywhere too remote. So yeah, nothing here. One thing I've kind of am going to keep an eye on is I think the exhaust manifolds might be cracked or leaking, because it seems like when you cold start the vehicle and you're next to like a wall, you can hear the ticking. And then once it kind of warms up, it goes away. So I'll test for that in a later video, not something I'm going to concern myself with right off the bat, but I think these 2UZ engines are known for that. All right, so let's go underneath. All right, so we'll go underneath and we'll kind of work our way frontwards to backwards. And one thing I'll say is it's kind of nice having a vehicle that you can get underneath without actually having to jack it up. So underneath, one thing I noticed while I was looking at it before is for some reason someone removed my recovery hooks. So I'm definitely going to want to get new ones of those. I guess the factory ones aren't really rated for much anyways. So yeah, I'm going to need to take care of that. I'm going to remove the skid plate here in a minute because there's a power steering leak I need to find. The previous owner did just replace the CV axles. Unfortunately, they are just Autoport Star brand CV axles. Personally, I would have gone with the OEM Toyota ones. So I guess we'll just see how they go. So yeah, obviously this axle serial here is leaking. Not sure if you can see that. I've already ordered a new one. On the other side, it looks like this one is dry, but the drain plugs are leaking. Also, I'm not sure if you can see, but the drain plugs are pretty mangled as far as the teeth on them. So I got new ones. I really hope I can get those out. I have some methods if they are not possible to get out with the Allen or Hex. So moving backwards, besides the front differential, everything else is really dry. I can tell that the transmission panel has been off before because it's not the OEM Toyota. RTV is red. This one is gray. Maybe there's a slight bit of seepage there. Yeah. The the drive shaft, there's a tiny bit of movement in this. I'm going to try greasing them. I guess that's another issue. Is just that when you go from like drive to park or reverse, like changing the gear or whatever, there's kind of like a clunk, which is either the bushings for the front differential, which you can't see, or the drive shafts need to be greased. So I'll try driving the greasing the drive shafts first, and then we'll see. So, you know, overall, there's pretty much zero rust, which is what I wanted. The other stuff I can fix. But obviously, yeah, I can't deal with rust. Transfer case looks pretty dry. Again, I'm missing the skid plate that should go here. Not really sure where that went or why someone would take that off. Maybe they forgot to put it back on when they were servicing it. I don't know. Again, these torsion bars, I don't really know how to tell if those are stock or upgraded, but yeah, I'm gonna measure the suspension to make sure it's in compliance, and then we'll work to the rear. And everything actually in the rear is in good shape. Everything is dry. Obviously these shocks and springs are pretty new. I think they're like less than 20,000 miles on them. Those springs are insanely beefy. So we'll see how it settles once I get all my drawers and stuff built that I want. And yeah, so the spare tire is still the original 16-inch one. I have an 18-inch rim that matches the ones that are on there, so I'm gonna try and get that in here. Might need some slight modification in order to do that. Yeah, so not much to be seen here. Everything's pretty tight. I'm gonna go ahead and jack up all the wheels and make sure all the wheel bearings are good. So while I jacked each corner up to check the wheel bearings and tie rods, I checked the suspension droop, and I was at, for the front left, I was at 55 millimeters, and for the front right, I was at 40 millimeters. So basically that's the height between the top of the wheel and the fender when the suspension is settled, and then you jack it up till the tire just starts to come off the ground. So the left side is in spec, the right side is out of spec. The spec is 50 to 60. So I'm gonna have to adjust the torsion bar on this side. I don't know which direction though, so I'm gonna have to do some research on that. Regardless, not gonna mess with it right now. So overall, everything looks pretty good. It's like possibly a tiny bit of this coolant leaking from the water pump, but I also have in the service history that it was literally just replaced when they did the radiator, so it might just be residual from that, so I'm just gonna monitor that. Also, this very front corner of the oil pan looks like it might be just ever so slightly seeping, so I'll monitor that. This bushing actually looks in pretty good condition from the for the differential, so I'll watch that. I bought a diff drop kit because the car is lifted in order to improve your CV life. So when I do the diff drop kit, I'll be able to see what that bushing looks like. It actually looks like they might have replaced it because this is a different color than the casing, which means they bought this whole front piece with the bushing installed. But regardless, I need an axle seal over here for sure. And it looks like the power steering, I don't know, I can't really see anywhere that's actively leaking power steering fluid. Whoops. Never mind. There it is. I'm not sure if you can see that, but that looks like that suction line to the pump is weeping pretty bad. So that will need done, but luckily that looks pretty easy to do. So cool. That probably explains the power steering leak. So that's a pretty easy fix. Yeah, I mean, overall, pretty much all I wanted was a truck with no rust, and I think I managed that swimmingly. I just looked in here and it looks like this has brand new control arm, or someone put brand new control arm bushings on here, because that looks brand new. And then also I noticed when I was underneath that the ball joints all look brand new too, so that's kind of cool. So overall, the Land Cruiser got a pretty good bill of health. Just a few things that I found that need addressed. I need to replace the front left differential axle seal. I might do the right one preemptively. I'm not sure. We'll see how this side goes, how difficult it is. The power steering suction line going from the reservoir to the pump looks to be sweating. Looks like that's the source of my power steering leak. So I'll go ahead and order a new line and go ahead and replace that. I'll probably get a new reservoir too, since the filter's in there. I just like to do that since can't really clean that filter or replace it at all. I think I'll go ahead and grease the drive shaft before I do the bushings. Also, I think I mentioned this when I was under the car, but I went ahead and already bought a diff drop kit. It's supposed to prolong the life of your CV shafts, just keeping them at a less severe angle when you're driving. So when I do that install, I should be able to get a good look at the bushings and see what state they're in. I might just really replace or order the bushings preemptively because I don't think they're terribly expensive. They're expensive if you buy them already installed in the arms, but if you buy the ones to press in, they're not too bad. There's a few leaks that I'll monitor. I'll monitor that water pump. There was a tiny bit of coolant in the skid plate, so I'm not sure if that was from when they replaced the water pump and the radiator or if something's still leaking. So yeah, I'll just monitor that and going forward, see what I need, see if there's anything I need to do about that. There's some missing fasteners I noticed for the skid plate. But honestly, I think the diff drop kit comes with longer bolts for the skid plates. I might not end up needing to order any of those. I'll see when I get there, and then eventually I'll try and figure out how I need to adjust that torsion link on the right side or passenger side since it's out of spec. I mean, I know how to adjust it, I just don't know what way to adjust it. I guess it'll be the classic 50-50-90, but really I kind of want to wait until I get my drawers in the rear installed that I want, so I can see how much the rear settles, because I might end up having to lower the rear, because right now it's got a pretty big rake towards the front. That's pretty much it. I mean, grand scheme of things, it's not bad. Oh, and I forgot the brake booster, which is the crazy expensive one, but it's not terribly hard to replace. I think the hardest part with that job is just going to be bleeding the ABS system afterwards. So that's pretty expensive and unfortunate, but like I said before, if this reservoir or this unit made it 245,000 miles in 21 years, I'm happy to pay the money for the next one if it's going to do the same. So yeah, pretty happy with it. And I've already built like an instant connection with this car just driving around a little bit. I don't know what it is. I think maybe it's just because it's so different than anything I've had before. But yeah, I hope you guys will like the series and like these videos. Something a little bit different, but I'm still not going to change the DNA of the channel. So thank you guys. Hope you like this video. And as always, please like and subscribe and stay tuned for next time. Bye.